They ruined my marriage, chose my brother over me, and still came back later asking me for money after I finally succeeded in life. I, 29M, got divorced from my wife, 27F, 2 months ago after discovering she had been cheating on me with my estranged, golden child brother, 27M. A few months before the divorce, she suddenly told me she was pregnant. At first, she tried to convince me the baby was mine, but my brother's frequent visits made me suspicious. Something didn't feel right, so I checked her phone. When I confronted her with what I found, she had no way out anymore, she confessed. She and my brother had been having an affair for a while. For context, I've been distant from my family since I left home at 18. They always treated me like an outsider, while my brother was their golden child. I still remember one moment clearly, when I thought they were celebrating something for me, but instead I realized the party wasn't even for my achievement. It was for him. That day, I finally snapped and asked them why they would ignore my real success just to make him feel better. Their response crushed me. They told me they didn't want him to feel left out, so they gave him the celebration instead. And instead of being upset, I should uplift my brother. That broke something in me. Right then, I decided I was done with them forever. And I meant it. I paid my own way through college with loans and part-time work, lived in a tiny apartment with a friend, and built my life from nothing. After I left for college, I never contacted my parents again, and they never reached out either. Years passed like that. Then, about a year ago, my brother suddenly contacted me online. He said he wanted to reconnect. My parents, he claimed, missed me. I hesitated, but eventually agreed. Big mistake. At that point, I was already married and doing well financially. My life was stable. But I guess part of me still hadn't healed from everything that happened with my family. So I met them. It was awkward at first, but they acted like they genuinely wanted to fix things. Slowly, I started lowering my guard. Eventually, I even invited them to my home. That was the moment everything started falling apart. Because I also introduced my brother to my wife. They met. And shortly after, they started an affair. Eventually, she got pregnant. At first, I was actually happy. I believed the baby was mine. But then things started to feel off. My brother began visiting more often. At first, I ignored it. But then it got strange. He would touch my wife's pregnant stomach, lean in, even talk to it like it was his. My wife brushed it off, saying it was nothing serious. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. 6 months into the pregnancy, while she was asleep, I checked her phone. And everything collapsed. The messages between her and my brother confirmed it. The baby wasn't mine. They had been together for a while. Worse, she never planned to tell me the truth. Their plan was simple. Let me believe the baby was mine, wait until birth, then reveal everything, divorce me, and she would finally be with my brother, while I was left paying child support for a child that wasn't even mine. The next morning, I confronted her. She denied it at first, but not for long. Eventually, she broke down and admitted everything. That was the end of my marriage. After that, my parents completely sided with my brother and my ex-wife. All their talk about loving us equally was just empty words. When the divorce became public, my entire family supported their relationship. Nobody cared that I was mentally destroyed. Nobody cared that I had been lied to for months. My parents even told me this was for the best and that I should be happy for them. That was the final straw. I cut them off completely, but it didn't end there. My ex-wife and brother went public with their relationship, and during the divorce proceedings, they painted me as toxic and controlling. My family backed their version of the story. As a result, I lost heavily in the divorce settlement. Money, assets, everything. My ex walked away with a huge settlement and my car, while I was labeled the problem. Still, I kept the house. Once it was over, I focused on rebuilding my life. I worked nonstop, pushed myself, and slowly climbed back up. Then, 2 weeks ago, I got promoted, better position, better salary, company car, everything. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had finally won something back. So, I treated myself to a solo dinner and posted about it online. That was another mistake. Within days, my mother contacted me again. And this time, She wasn't asking, she was demanding I come visit. I ignored her, but she kept calling, relentlessly. Eventually, she even showed up at my office, causing a scene at reception until I agreed just to make her leave. A few days later, I went. They had moved into a bigger house using the settlement money. My ex had recently given birth, just 3 weeks ago. The money situation was clearly getting tight. My brother wasn't there. My ex was asleep, so it was just my parents. No small talk. Just silence. Then my father finally spoke. My brother had lost his job. The settlement money and alimony weren't enough anymore. And then came the real reason I was called there. They saw my promotion online and wanted me to help them financially. My brother, my ex, my parents, all of them unemployed or dependent, asking me, the same person they betrayed, to support them. I didn't even react for a few minutes. I just sat there, stunned. Then I stood up and left. No explanation. At the door, I saw my brother standing outside. My parents were calling after me, telling me to stay. He looked nervous, almost unsure of himself for once. I still didn't say a word. I walked out. As I reached my car, it started raining heavily. I got completely soaked, already furious at everything that had just happened. And then it got worse. They followed me outside. My parents tried one last time to stop me. My brother, usually arrogant and smug, was actually pleading with me for help. That alone almost made me laugh. The same brother who destroyed my marriage was now begging me for money. But I lost it. I told them to leave me alone and that if they were so desperate, they could beg on the streets instead. Then I got in my car and drove off, leaving them standing in the rain. And honestly, I didn't feel bad about it. 2 days after I cut them off, my phone hasn't stopped ringing, and somehow that silence in my life feels louder than all their accusations combined. They've done nothing but mistreat me my entire life, yet now I'm the one expected to feel guilty. My mother has been texting me nonstop, and honestly, I'm starting to question myself again. I feel guilty for not helping them out. I know I have money. I know sending them a little wouldn't hurt me financially. But after everything that's happened, it doesn't feel like help. It feels like I'm being used all over again. This whole situation started when I finally refused to support my family financially after they took my ex's side during the divorce. At first, I felt terrible about it. It felt like I was abandoning them. But then reality hit me. This is exactly what they've been doing to me my entire life. Even during the divorce, they didn't stand with me. They threw me under the bus without hesitation. So I stopped hesitating too. I told my mother to stop pestering me, or I'd involve my lawyers, and it wouldn't end well for them. That alone set everything off. A few days later, my brother showed up at my house. He came to talk, but it didn't take long before his real thoughts came out. He told me that while he felt sorry for how I was treated growing up, he couldn't help the fact that he was just inherently better than me, which, according to him, was why even our parents treated him the same way. Then he told me I should stop acting weird with our parents, that they were just doing what any normal parents would do, that I should stop holding grudges like a child and help them out because they're in a tough spot. I actually laughed in his face, because what he was saying didn't even sound real. I told him that instead of trying to manipulate me into giving them money, he should probably go find a job and stop wasting my time. That hit a nerve. He started yelling, saying I was jealous, not just of him, but of how even my parents and my ex-wife preferred him over me. Then he accused me of taking revenge by refusing to give my family money. I didn't even bother arguing. I just agreed. I told him if he wants to believe I'm doing this out of revenge, then fine. Let him believe it. There's nothing he can do about it anyway. That's when he completely lost it. He told me he'd come after me and force me to cough up the money one way or another, and that I'd regret talking to him like that. Honestly, I didn't take any of it seriously. He can threaten all he wants, but I know exactly what he is, and I know he's not capable of doing anything real. I'm unbothered. Update 1 turned into Update 2, and nothing really changed. 3 days ago, my brother tried again. Same result. My parents had already tried in the past and failed too. So this time they sent my ex. I was hesitant to answer her call, but I did anyway. If I didn't, I knew she'd probably show up next and waste even more of my time. What I heard on that call was honestly insane. She started politely, saying she already knew I had no obligation to help them after everything that happened, but she still wanted me to be the bigger person. She even tried to guilt me, reminding me how my parents supposedly supported me growing up and how she tried to be a good wife. But none of that worked, because my reality was different. My parents always favored my brother, and my good wife ended up cheating on me with the same brother I used to complain about. So I told her plainly that I was already paying enough through alimony, something she didn't even deserve after what she did, but somehow still managed to get, thanks to how my family twisted everything against me. That's when she broke down crying on the phone, calling me selfish and heartless. Ironically, she still demanded I help. Then she dropped the threat, saying my brother was right, and if I refused, she'd take legal action, demand higher alimony, and drag me back to court to humiliate me again. Honestly, I'd like to see them try. Nothing of the sort was happening. After more yelling, my brother finally snapped. He grabbed me by the collar and tried to swing at me. Before it could escalate further, my dad pulled him back just in time while he kept screaming that I was nothing but a jealous loser who would never amount to anything. Honestly, it was almost funny hearing that coming from an unemployed guy still living with his parents and begging his brother for money just to survive. But alright. I told them they needed to leave immediately, or I would call the police. And seeing how broke they were, they should probably make a run for it in the next 5 minutes. Reluctantly, they backed off, but not before my mother made one last attempt to shame me into giving them money. It didn't work. Eventually, they left. It's been almost a day since then, and none of them have tried contacting me. And honestly, I'm hoping it stays that way. Now, on to the next story. Story 2. I found out my wife cheated on me with my stepdaughter's father, so I divorced her immediately. My wife, 33F, cheated on me. I'm 33M. I found out in December when I walked into his house and saw them together. I already suspected something was going on because it was my stepdaughter's father. A man I had been keeping away from our property for years, constantly controlling his behavior and keeping his anger in check. Meanwhile, I was doing everything. I took care of the house, the pets, the yard, and her daughter from a previous relationship. When we got married, she even had me get rid of my own car so I could drive hers. I worked part-time on top of helping at her law firm job, just to keep everything afloat. My days started at 6 a.m. and sometimes didn't end until 2 a.m. because everything fell on me. At first, I tried to forgive her, but I kept catching her talking to him again, making plans, even flirting with other men, while still telling me she wanted us to work. Then it got worse. She began emotionally and sexually manipulating me, blaming me for her cheating, saying it was my fault for not stopping her, using guilt and pressure to force intimacy when I clearly wasn't ready. Then she got pregnant. When I asked for a DNA test, she immediately had an abortion and then blamed me for that too. That was it for me. I left last month and quit my job. Since then, my family has been supporting me, but every day is a struggle. Some days I can barely get out of bed. I barely eat. I feel like I lost everything: my home, my job, my marriage, even my stepdaughter. We were married for less than a year. I got no support, no car, no stability, just pieces of a life I thought was real. And worst of all, I found out the cheating didn't even start after marriage. It was happening even while we were dating. Everything was a lie, a game to her. I feel like I was the only one being punished while everyone else walked away clean. My lawyer says there's not much I can do, and I trust him, but I feel stuck. What do I even do with all of this pain? How do I fix myself? I know I need to start small, find a job, rebuild my life, but even leaving the house feels impossible. Being around people drains me. I come home completely broken. Nothing feels better, and I don't know how to move forward. Divorce hearing shock. A friend told me my ex-wife was planning to bring the other man to the hearing just to humiliate me one last time. Some friends offered to come for support. Others told me to just ignore it. I didn't know what to do. Update 2. Divorce finalized. The hearing finally happened. For context, my entire marriage fell apart after I caught my wife cheating in our bed just days after Christmas. After that, things only got worse. Constant lies, secret messages, emotional manipulation, and threats whenever I tried to leave. She told me if I left, she would ruin my life. But I left anyway. And here I am, alive and finally free. I moved out of town. New place. New job. She doesn't know where I live anymore. The day of the hearing, I didn't even look at her. Not once. She tried to hand me papers, but I just took them and kept walking. Something felt off though. The man she cheated with wasn't there. Later, I found out why. He had gotten another woman pregnant and moved on. I tore the note up and threw it away. She destroyed a marriage for someone who didn't even stay loyal to her. And now she's left dealing with the consequences alone. As for me, I came home that day and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time.
Peace.
Not perfect peace. Not full healing.
But peace.
Still, if I'm honest, I thought I would feel happier. Instead, I just feel strange. Like I survived something that changed me forever. And maybe I did.